Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of the DAN Show, and welcome to my latest 2021 NFL Draft video. Today, I am going to break down the Detroit Lions. Now, if this is your first time here, I just got a simple question to ask you. Do you like football? Because if so, you're in the right place. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified every time I come out with a new video. Now, if you've already been here before, you already know the drill. Give me a thumbs up and drop a comment below with what you think of this latest video. Now, today I'm going to break down the Detroit Lions. I'm going to give you 3 things I like about the Lions. I'm going to give you 3 things I don't like, but stick around to the very end where I break down the Vegas over-under and if I am going to put action down on the Detroit Lions. Now let's start with the breakdown. 3 things I like about the Detroit Lions. First thing I like is the front office hires, not just of Brad Holmes, but with assistant general manager John Dorsey. Back in 2020, I actually said that the Lions would hire John Dorsey to be the general manager, but instead you get him as the assistant manager with the former director of college scouting from the Rams. So you get a perfect yin-yang here of experience with John Dorsey rebuilding the Chiefs and the Browns, and innovation and ability to evaluate college talent in Brad Holmes. Now with John Dorsey, I've often said there's not 10 people more responsible in the Chiefs organization for them winning a Super Bowl than John Dorsey. And I don't believe there's 5 people more responsible to the Browns going from 0 wins to a 4th and 1 conversion away from the AFC Championship than John Dorsey. So in my opinion, of every team that hired a new general manager, I thought the Lions combo of Holmes and Dorsey was easily the best one. And the second thing I like, which is directly related to the front office hiring, is the trade for Jared Goff. There's multiple things I like about the Goff trade. First off, Brad Hopkins was a director of college scouting when the Rams orchestrated the trade up to the number 1 pick overall for Jared Goff. This is a Pro Bowl quarterback who's been to a Super Bowl. Pretty underrated quarterback in my opinion. I did a video just last week about the Atlanta Falcons, and I used the stat that Matt Ryan has passed for more yards over the last 3 years than any other quarterback. Well, Jared Goff's number 3 on that list. You have Matt Ryan, Patrick Mahomes, and Jared Goff. Those 2 other quarterbacks aren't bad quarterbacks. So I think you got a really underrated quarterback here in Jared Goff. But I want to be very clear that I'd rather have a healthy Stafford than I'd rather have a healthy Goff. But you're still getting one of the best 15 quarterbacks in the National Football League. But what I really like about this trade is that you did something that's called hedging your bets. And what it is that let's say Goff doesn't work out. Well, you got 2 first-round picks in 2022 and in 2023. So here's the drill. Let's just say that Goff doesn't pan out this year. Well, you're going to have a very high draft pick, plus you're going to have an extra first-round draft pick. Plus, if you really have to, you can use 2 other picks in the 2023 draft to get up very high in next year's draft. You know what? You also are telling Goff that, hey, guess what? Even if you have one good year, let's say you regress in 2022, you still have 2 first-round picks in 2023 that you can use to go ahead and get Goff's replacement. So Goff knows immediately when he arrived to Detroit, it's put up or shut up because you have all that draft capital used to go ahead and draft your replacement if you don't do well. So that's what I really like about this trade. And this relates directly to the third thing I like about the Detroit Lions is their draft. While in Kansas City, John Dorsey, before the 2013 NFL draft, went ahead and obtained Alex Smith, and he used that first overall pick on Eric Fisher. This should sound very familiar to you Lions fans, in the fact that you went ahead and got Jared Goff, and then the first overall pick in the Dorsey-Holmes era is Penei Sewell, another offensive lineman. Dorsey's staple is prioritizing the offensive and defensive line. If you look what he did in Cleveland, his first overall pick was Myles Garrett. Now, there wasn't really a lot of debate with who to take in that draft. Myles Garrett was easily the best prospect in that draft. But in Kansas City, there was a lot of debate. There was a lot of different opinions with who to take. So going offensive line and then taking Alex Smith. That was kind of a semi-risky move. But here's what happened with the Lions draft. You take the best offensive lineman prospect. Well, universally considered Penei Sewell was the best offensive line prospect. And then you get two defensive line prospects. Both were slated to go higher than what the Lions drafted them. And then on a personal note, I had their fourth round wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I had him as a second round pick, and the Lions get him in the fourth round. I gave the Lions a A- draft grade. Only two teams got a higher draft grade from me personally, for whatever that's worth. But here's the thing: this is a blueprint that John Dorsey used for success in both Kansas City and Cleveland. You get a new quarterback, you improve your offensive defensive line, and just FYI, Lions fans, Dorsey's first draft pick, or first draft in Kansas City, included a third rounder by the name of Travis Kelce. And that's another thing Dorsey's been famous for doing, is getting quality players in later rounds. So just to recap, what I like about the Lions is I love the front office duo of Hopkins and Dorsey. No other NFL team did a better job in hiring front office personnel than the Lions did this offseason. I love the Goff trade, and I love their draft. Now, with the Goff trade and the draft picks, these are John Dorsey staples that he used to have success in both Kansas City and Cleveland. And by the way, both franchises were turned around extremely quickly, Lions fans. Now, three things I don't like about the Detroit Lions. First off, I'm making this video in mid-July, so there's a very good possibility that this will change between now and the start of the NFL season. But I'm going on what I see today. And the first thing I don't like is the Lions wide receiver core. And this unit is really, really bad. There's three slated starting wide receivers by Ourlads, which is a source I like to use to get depth charts, is Brashad Perryman, Tyrell Williams, and Khalif Raymond. Not only are none of these guys a legitimate number one receiver, none of these guys are even a legitimate number two guys. I think if you go to an NFL team with a solid wide receiving core or a really good wide receiving core, these guys don't even make the team. I mean, these guys are really bad. I wouldn't even be surprised if Amon-Ra St. Brown starts day one and he's a fourth round pick. Now, I want to be very clear, John Dorsey's the one who orchestrated the trade for OBJ, so he's been known to make trades and improve rosters. So I'm going by what I see today, which is easily the worst wide receiving core in the National Football League, but between now and the start of the regular season, this could be subject to change. The second thing I don't like about the Detroit Lions is the defense. It's been well documented how bad the Lions defense was in 2020, so I'm not here to rehash that, but what the Lions are doing for the 2021 season doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You bring in your head coach and your defensive coordinator from the Saints. So let me explain what the Saints did. What happened was in the 2015 season, Rob Ryan was fired and replaced by Dennis Allen. So in the 2016 season, he brings in Aaron Glenn to be the new defensive backs coach. In 2015, the Saints had the 32nd ranked defense and a complex Rob Ryan system that just didn't work. Sound familiar? 2020, 3-4 complex system that doesn't work. So Dennis Allen changes the defense. He brings in Aaron Glenn, and year one's not very good. They only go from 32nd to 31st in scoring defense, but the next 4 years, they're 10th in scoring defense, 14th, 13th, and 5th overall last year. In those 4 years, there's 4 NFC South titles and a 49-15 record. Again, 4 years, 49 wins. That's better than 12-4. Lions fans, how would you feel if over the next 4 years you average better than 12-4? That's pretty good. So when the Lions go ahead and bring in Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn, it makes sense to do the same thing. You replace a complicated 3-4 defense with a simplified 4-3 defense, and that's what you're going to do. Wrong! Instead, the Lions are going to run a multifaceted 3-4 scheme, not the successful scheme that Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn ran in New Orleans. Now, they did bring in Dom Capers, who has extensive 3-4 knowledge to assist, but why bring in a first-time defensive coordinator and have him run some new made-up defense. It made sense to do the same thing that was wildly successful in New Orleans. You run a 4-3 system. You drafted prototypical 4-3 defensive tackles in the draft. Your best pass rusher played his best as a pure defensive end, where he would work perfectly as a 4-3 defensive end. Instead, now you're going to move him to outside linebacker and play in some new scheme. So instead of using a proven method that was wildly successful in New Orleans, you're going to ask your first time ever being a defensive coordinator to run some weird hybrid scheme. All right, this is a lot like Patricia's failed experiment. So here's the thing. You have what's Patricia's wildly unsuccessful, historically bad experiment on defense, and then you have a proven successful method of defense that worked in New Orleans. Well, we're going to go ahead and model the defense after Patricia's failed experiment. That's what it looks like the Lions are doing. And bottom line, it wouldn't surprise me if either mid-season or after the season's over, they scrap this defense completely and go back to running Dennis Allen's defense, which they should be doing anyway. Now, the third thing I don't like about the Detroit Lions is the overall talent. All right, I'm like a broken record here because I keep talking about what John Dorsey did before. And I'm also making this video in mid-July, and just going from what I've seen in the past, I expect Dorsey to make changes between now and the start of the NFL season. But I'm just have to go by what I see now. And this is probably the least talented roster in the NFL. You do have a few good players. And then you also have players like Jamie Collins and Trey Flowers who had success in New England. They may do better this year, but I'm kind of going from what I saw last year. And here's the thing, when the Lions first hired Campbell and Glenn, I was really expecting a complete overhaul on defense, and that really hasn't been the case. Now, I do expect changes made in the roster between now and the start of the NFL season, but as of today, as of right now, this might be the least talented team in the NFL. So just to recap, what the three things I don't like about the Lions is this is the worst wide receiving core in the NFL. I don't like the defense, a combination of scheme, talent, and not doing what you had success doing previously in New Orleans, and just the overall lack of talent. Now, this is the advanced class, the money-making part of the show. I'm going to break down the over-under, and if I'm putting action down on the Detroit Lions. Now, as you can see here, the over-under is listed at 5 wins, and it's -110 on both sides, which is standard. All bet spreads start off at -110 on both sides. And if you're new to sports betting, what this means is that you have to wager $110 to win 100. Now, I do not bet on NFL rookie head coaches, but this might be a good opportunity for some other people to make some good money. Now, if you watch this whole video, I've mentioned this many times, John Dorsey turned both Kansas City and Cleveland around really fast. Now, year one, Dorsey was in Cleveland. The owner required him to keep Hugh Jackson as the Cleveland Browns head coach, and they went winless. Now, year one in Kansas City, he got Andy Reid and went 11-5 and made the playoffs. It's very safe to assume that Dan Campbell's going to be somewhere in the middle. He's not going to be Hugh Jackson, but he's probably not going to be Andy Reid. So you're probably getting somewhere in the middle with Dan Campbell. So if you are going to bet on the Lions, I would strongly suggest taking the over, but do it now. And the reason why I say that is because Dorsey more than likely is going to make changes to this roster. He has done it before. He specifically did it in Kansas City, and he has multiple draft picks that he can get creative with. Now, could Dorsey trade a 2022 pick for OBJ? Why not? Maybe a pass rusher. He's done things like this before. And even if he doesn't make a big move, 5 games is a really small number. I mean, this is the first ever 17-game season. So even a 16-game season, 5's a really tiny number. Now, personally speaking, the way this roster is constructed, if this roster doesn't make any changes, which I firmly believe they will, I might be tempted to take the under. But last year, late, the Lions win total jumped from 6.5 to 7. Only the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys had a late push with money bet on them to take the over to make Vegas jump up the number 0.5 point, and Vegas collected on both the Cowboys and the Lions on all that money that was placed on the over. Now, it wouldn't surprise me, especially if a trade is made, for this number to jump up from 5 to 5.5, depending on who's been added to the Detroit Lions roster. It could even be somewhere in the 6s. That is why I would suggest. Now, I personally am not putting action down on the Lions, but if you want to, take the over, but do it now. And I would strongly suggest, if you are going to put action down on the Lions, which I don't recommend, only have it be a small part of your budget, but put it on the over. Now, if you haven't already, give me the thumbs up and drop a comment below. I'm giving you my opinion. I want to hear from you. I make these videos so I can start a conversation, start a dialogue. I give my opinion. Now I want to hear what your opinion is. And Wednesday, I'm going to break down the Philadelphia Eagles. And hey, I will see you on Wednesday.